Welcome back, everybody. Now, earlier this year, we spoke to the recipients of the 2025 Standard Bank Young Artist Awards. Liezle Wilson is on standby with the winner for poetry, Modise Sekgothe, who is premiering his piece, Gabo Legwala, at the festival. And we cross over to Liezle, who is out at Makanda. A very good morning to you, Liezle. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you.
In the wilderness, you shout in a million different directions, and nothing speaks back. Not within all of infinity. No one is ever coming, not in any time frame within the bounds of eternity. Yours is a lonely road. Yours isn't even a road, it's a riddle. Unsolvable. No one knows you, in person or in passing. You are a passing wind, barely detectable. You are a fading picture that still imagines itself visible. You are what was erased before anything was written, the dust on the chalkboard. Now a million scattered particles floating about a deserted classroom. Even the floor will not have you or accept you. You are nothing to everything around you. You are something forgotten that was never known, everything discarded that was never made. You are the paradox of space and time, for you have no place, and thus no story, no face, and thus no memory. You are a sound that sunk into the ground, a tremor unnoticed, a glimmer of a glimmer, a glimpse of what was almost an idea, a word at the tip of a tongue that never quite got sung, the murderer they never hung, forgettable at your most formidable, passable at your most exceptional. You are nothing to everything around you. You are nothing to everything around you until you find the one thing that is everything in itself and nothing else. You, it, all of what will speak back. You are everything you have been waiting for at the fort, every demon you discovered and fought. You yourself are the riddle you sought to solve or salvage. You are all you will ever know or be known by, because you are all there is. You are the man and the mirror. You are the word that first was, all the way to before God, or God, all waiting for kingdom come. No king will come that is not already here. The king himself, the kingdom, you, yourself, the tree, and the crash, and the sound, and the ear. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, Modise Sekgothe, of course, the Standard Bank Young Artist Award winner for poetry. Thank you for joining us. Gabo Legwala, of course, set to, play a significant role here at the National Arts Festival. We're looking forward to all those performances coming through, but also the important conversations that are going to be had as you reflect on your own life, your own times, but also what this means in the broader society at large. I wonder if we could speak about that experience that you had. Obviously your character disguised as Ndish, undergoes different rites of passage, and we're looking at, what that entails for a young man in Soweto, but perhaps Johannesburg at large, in South Africa, if we're looking at that broader picture.
Yeah, it's the question of kind of, how young men growing up without their fathers find their way. Some of the ways in which they kind of band together and sort of, collectively try to make sense of, just how to become men, and some of the ways in which the directions they take, stray towards addiction, towards just a vast range, I think, of some of the issues that face South African men. And so, this work sort of explores that and just asks the questions of how does a young man become a man, and find his own way, in the context where the proper role models are not there, where the father figure is not there. Looking at my own experience, but also the experiences of, some of the other young men I grew up with in the township.
It's also about influences from peers at large, right? Especially with that missing figure. And some are positive, some obviously not so much, requiring much healing. Do you want to reflect on some of your own personal experiences that would have shaped this poem disguised as a play, if we're looking at those different layers?
For me, it was having a lot of nurture and love at home, raised by my mom and my sisters. I had 3 older sisters and my mom, all of them, my sisters were much, much older. And so it was a very, very warm, loving space. And when I was outside, kind of, making sense of how to be a young boy and sort of dealing with bullying and dealing with, the very real sort of aggressiveness almost of childhood and boyhood, I would go home. Gabo Legwala means the coward's home, which comes from a saying which is Gabo Legwala akhulliwe, which means that a direct translation is that there'll be no tears at the coward's home, which means that one who kind of who walks away from a fight causes less tragedy for their family. And so that was what was rubbed into my marrow by my mothers and my sisters. I was constantly advised to walk away from trouble.
Well, I mean, in the same breath, though, walking away from physical trouble, but you found your voice and you were able to use that as a mouthpiece to speak up and perhaps challenge those microaggressions and the status quo, patriarchy. I mean, we're seeing the constructs playing out, white supremacy. Just as being at the National Arts Festival, we know the collision of culture, language, diversity that obviously takes center stage here. It's Youth Month, and so the plight of youth also really comes to the fore. And at this point, if we're looking at the emotional healing that's also needed, so I mean, talk to us about what you're observing on that front in your own community. What more should be done to acknowledge, accept, and then use that to propel us forward?
I mean, I think the role of art is quite significant in this. I think there's a great collective trauma that we're all dealing with. There's a lot of young people that are subject to the conditions that they're born into. In growing up in the township, for instance, is the complexities of existing in that space and the family structures that aren't always conducive to I think a positive upbringing. And so, but I think it's in. Yeah, I think my role as an artist is precisely to talk to that and to create work and to go to engage young people and give them the power. I think the power of using their own voices to dig in and find ways of expressing themselves and finding inner healing individually, and then finding ways of doing that collectively as well.
Yeah, I mean, I asked that because obviously the issues are intersectional. We're looking at economic, we're looking at past inequities as well. And so, yes, it is about finding your voice and using art to heal. But the realities on the ground for the youth in this country, given our economic situation, it is rather dire. What do you think needs to be done on that front? If you're looking at the multidisciplinary approach that's needed to address those societal issues, particularly in a township like Soweto?
I mean, I think, most significantly, of course, we know, especially in the lives of young people, education is the core. I think it's the disparity really between the education sort of structures, in the townships relative to, in other more privileged spaces, I think is a real problem, because then, the young people growing up in those spaces are automatically disadvantaged just by virtue of the quality of the education that is available to them. And so I think it's at the level of education, but then even outside of that, it's at the level of there being infrastructure in these environments to further support young people finding their voice or learning. So yeah, I think at the systematic level, it's really about creating a community that allows young people to thrive and explore and learn in ways that encourage them to actually want to be better.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think currently, everything around, a lot of the time, everything around them just almost makes it meaningless to want to strive.
Yes, and one has to look for that hope, right? And
Yeah.
and I mean, you as an artist, your work, even just being the recipient of the Standard Bank Young Artist Award for this year, you're a window, you're a lens into the realities. You're also a mirror for people to reflect back on themselves. What does that mean for you? That recognition to say we see you and we thank you for your contribution to this national discourse, but even just the creative economy as well. I mean, at the end of the day, this is now obviously opening up doors for you to continue to add to our agency and tell our stories, archive our history.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great honor. I am an individual poet who is a part of a larger community. That has raised me, that has taught me a great deal. I'm an individual young man who's raised with other young men, and so I feel the responsibility to tell their stories. I feel the responsibility to speak to some of the complexities that we're all engaged with, and to add my voice to that, and hope that the work presses the right buttons and shifts things around.
Well, it's pressing the right buttons. You're also in the right community. You're also collaborating with so many other artists as well. I mean, here, I'm sure the inspiration must be coming to you left, right, and center. Being at this cultural hub, the Sundowner stage just ahead of us. You're also going to be performing, of course, throughout the festival. Tell us a little bit more about the importance of those collaborations for you, for your growth, and just the community that you're involved in at large.
Yeah, so in this particular show, I'm collaborating with theatre duo and co. Our director is a man called Mahlatse Mukanyana, and then musicians Yogan Salafin and Pumla Siobi. And it's been an amazing journey for me because I've kind of, as I'm a poet, but I'm very much interested in music. I'm very much interested in performance overall. And so I've had these voices and these great minds sort of, push me and stretch, I think, the bounds around which I'm able to do and deliver and perform the poetry. And it's been extremely inspiring as well, just to be in this community, rubbing shoulders with all the other great artists that are here.
No cold formed against us shall prosper. I mean, we're seeing the town come alive, and lots of people also coming out to support. And even just for you to get here, the preparation as well that you would have undergone, your challenges over the years, perhaps even in composing Gabo Legwala. Tell us a little bit more about that journey as well.
It's been a journey and a half. I mean, as you know, the writing phase is a very lonely process, and a lot of digging had to happen for me, where I go back into these lived narratives and really try to condense the lessons from them, but also just like be very raw about the experience. And then coming into the room with my collaborators and having that that challenge and that tension sort of I think chisel at the work and produce what we have now, which we're very proud of.
We continue to learn, unlearn, relearn. Thank you for continuing to telling our stories, reflecting back what it means to, heal and to also challenge the status quo. Thank you for joining us. We're wishing you all the best of luck as the festival continues. It's so quiet in here, but I know that just in about an hour or so, the first show kicks off. And so enjoy the rest of the activities as well. We're going to leave it there for now. Modise Sekgothe, of course, just joining us this morning. Standard Bank Young Artist Award winner for 2025, of course, under the poetry section, chatting about his journey. Gabo Legwala, that poem, it's disguised as a play. He's really going to be unpacking and performing alongside that duo, to bring the stage alive, of course. And speaking about bringing the stage alive, I'm going to now hand it over back to him. He's going to be taking us with that piece, and we'll continue with all the action live from the heart of Makhanda here at the National Arts Festival at the top of the hour. Modise, it's over to you again.
A river runs beside us, disguised as a street, for the road is a frozen Nile that spans 1,000 streams, where we row our boats in silence, in search of our dying dreams. We know that time is flying and that the earth is a dying being. The forest that used to live here haunts the day and denies us sleep. Its roots revolt beneath us, pushing against the ground, pulling apart the street, tearing apart the tar, hitting against our feet. We're standing on shaky ground. The pavement is not concrete. The settlers made a town and left us with nature's grief. We stumble about confounded and find we hardly breathe. The oxygen here was foul, and our lungs have finally weakened. The polis is crumbling down, and our fellows are caught beneath. The towers have fallen and crushed the many who tried to reach. The city has spoken of sounds that only a few can speak. Our fathers were fed to the ground, and our mothers will never sleep. We'll sing of a similar sun, while our brothers and sisters weep and remember the river that runs and arrives at our shattered dreams, where there is no gold, only dust and dirt and debt, where there is no light, only darkness and doom and death.